Welcome back with our main topic. Today we're discussing today that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have give his directives concerning the decent life initiatives to provide all the facilities and the budget needed for this initiative. And today we're going to discuss the volunteer work with the children in order to enhance their potentials. To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to host now Ms. Maha Salem, Student Progression Mentor. Good morning, Mrs. Salem.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you? Ms. Salem, what are the key motivational factors that caused you to start working with the children?
First of all, I would like to say thank you so much for having me tonight.
I have the pleasure to have you today.
And I'm so proud that we can cause awareness for this initiative here today. The key motivators I've had to start working with children is that I've been very fortunate and privileged to have an education, a very good and high standard education throughout my high school, throughout university, and I feel as a core value I need to give back. And this was the key motivator for me working with children.
Yes.
Especially growing up in Egypt and seeing the disparity, how large it is between people who have a very good education and those who are less fortunate to have so. Not necessarily having the support and the resources to do so. For me, it is very important that somehow I can provide a little bit of hope and change.
Yes, Ms. Salem, you are a volunteer in the initiative of Decent Life.
Yes.
Yes. Why did you choose this?
I think it's very important, especially here in Egypt, that we shed light on rural communities here in Egypt. And this initiative focuses on creating more than almost approximately 3,000 new classrooms for around 100,000 students. It's a great honor to be part of this initiative and knowing the results that will yield from this initiative.
Yes.
And I'm so proud that the government administration is taking the steps forward to focus on rural communities that need the most development.
Yes. So what is the experience that you have encountered abroad that you believe is vital to implement while working with the children here in Egypt?
So for the past 5 years, I've been living in the UK during my studies. And alongside my studies, I've volunteered in numerous organizations. And the key factor that they highlight frequently when I was volunteering abroad is training, and not just training to ensure that the workshop that you're doing is interactive, no, but training security-wise, because we do deal with children who have experienced a lot of trauma in their lives, for example,
yes,
especially with child abuse. So a key factor is training. Something else that I would definitely encourage to bring back here is teamwork. They do say teamwork makes the dream work, and this is vital because you do need someone to bounce ideas off, especially since I've been doing it for quite a while. Ideas tend to be less innovative,
yes, and
so teamwork is fantastic. And not only that, I think there needs to be support for the volunteers from senior positions within the organization, because it is a tough job working with children who come from backgrounds that aren't very fair. So support is needed for the volunteers for sure. And yeah, those are the key main factors I would say that I've learned from abroad and I would like to see here in Egypt.
Yes, Ms. Salem, what are the activities that are carried out in order to support the children that you are working with?
So since I've focused on mentoring them and educating them about future prospects and the ability to further their education, whether it's going to university or continuing their higher education, I always systematically organize my workshops. First of all, a lot of the students don't know me, I don't know them, and they might not know one another. Therefore, I always like to start with an icebreaker, which literally breaks the ice between myself and them with one another. Just a fun way of getting them to be loose and fun and enjoy themselves. And then I go into the nitty-gritty of the topic. Again, it has to be something engaging because these children have a very short concentration span. So once you grab it, you don't let go. And so that's a key thing, to systematically organize the approach you take for the workshop.
Yes, yes. Ms. Salem, what are the main challenges that young people could face while they are making decisions about their future?
Many challenges. I, for one, who had resources and support continuously, found it very difficult to decide where I want to go for university, what courses I wanted to do. So I found it challenging. So children that do not have the support or the resources or have this as a common conversation at home, I can only imagine the extent of their challenges. Especially if their parents or family members haven't had that sort of lifestyle where they continued their education. A lot of these people don't even finish high school because they need to work to bring in money and income for the family. So that's a challenge. Whether do you support your family, do you continue in education? And if they do decide to continue in education, where is the income coming from? Yes, there are public educational services and universities. However, there are external costs such as living costs. How are you going to survive? The food, the transportation, where are all these coming from? So that's another challenge that they face.
So, Ms. Salem, what are the kind of challenges, or actually the main challenges that faced the children while you were being a volunteer during working with the children?
So do you mean the challenges I face?
No, the children's face.
Okay. So I was working with the Syrian refugees back in the UK, and one of the challenges was the language barrier. I am fortunate enough to speak Arabic, but many of the volunteers I was working with, they didn't speak Arabic. So that was one challenge, the language barrier. Another challenge is communicating with one another, external to the educational side. They might not be very open because of their past traumas, not wanting to discuss their lives. And we never ever pressure them to do so, but you do see the trauma within the child when they come to discuss other things, not so willing to discuss things. They're discouraged.
You mean the language barriers makes them feel that the person in front of them cannot get their idea or cannot understand them?
Yeah, they can't express themselves.
Yes.
And as a volunteer as well, you might not understand. So there's definitely that.
So this is a common challenge or problem that faced you and the children.
Yes.
What about the problems that faced you, or the challenges that faced you as a volunteer?
As a volunteer, as I mentioned before, the concentration span that the children have is very small. So it's very difficult when you're standing in front of a class to have them not contributing to the discussion with you. You try to engage them in every way, shape, and form, but that is one challenge for sure. Another challenge is that you have an array of different personalities in the classroom. You have those that are willing to be there, that actually want to learn or want to gain experience from the person that's volunteering. And then you have those who are troublemakers that sit and they distract everyone else. So those are very difficult to deal with. Do you take them on one side? Do you talk to them? That's the most useful approach because you don't want to put the limelight on them. But that's one of the major challenges I faced. And the most difficult challenge I face is hearing about the stories that these people have gone through, that the children have gone through, their families have gone through, and seeing as well the living situation, especially with refugees. I was living in the UK, and the system is that once they're in the system, they're placed on hold until they find accommodation.
Yes.
That period of hold could be a long time, and therefore you're in a cramped room with many children. It's a very difficult situation. And so hearing about this is definitely a challenge.
Yes, Ms. Salem, what are the ages that you are dealing with?
I was dealing with the age range of 9 to 15. So usually towards the start, mid-high school period, where they start taking decisions about life a little bit more seriously. In the UK, they start thinking about their GCSEs, which is a sort of adult decision. What sort of subject do you really want to take? Do you know what you want to do in the future? And personally, at that age, I didn't know what I wanted to do in the future. So you can only imagine students that don't have the support from their family, they probably don't even know what they want to do in the future.
Yes.
So
Yes. Could you give us an example of a child or a group of children here in Egypt in the Decent Life initiative that you have been dealing with, and the progress that you have witnessed or seen in these children?
Well, the student, this initiative is still in the beginning of its process, so we're still working towards creating the material.
When did you start joining the initiative?
I joined around 3 months ago, so
Okay.
not as much, not a long time. And the training is a long process, so getting down to the nitty-gritty and actually going with the students is not yet a possibility for me, since I'm still working towards creating the material.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So tell me about your work. How do you spend the day? How do you choose the villages that you visit? And how long do you stay there? Tell me about the program that you are following.
The program, well, it's basically done for us. The villages that we choose, where to go, but I decide to do the...
So who chooses for you where to go?
The senior-
Which villages?
The senior authorities choose where to go, and as I said, we're still in the training period, so I haven't yet gone down to the villages, but I'm working towards creating the workshops with the students.
Yes.
I can give you examples of what I did in the UK, experiences I've had with them. I dealt with a Syrian refugee. He was around 9 years old at the time, and bless him, he was deaf. So again, as I mentioned, that there was a communication barrier between him and I. I didn't know much sign language, and as I said, he's deaf, so he couldn't communicate with me. And seeing that, I realized that I need to create bespoke materials for the student, and it had to be more visual work rather than oral because of his situation. And so at first you can tell that he was very demotivated, he lacked confidence, he didn't know how to communicate, I didn't know how to communicate. And so creating these resources and these workshops to cater to his needs, you can tell that there was a shift and progress in how he felt, his confidence levels, his communication skills. And to be honest, he is very talented with mathematics, and it was incredible to see. I would create papers and papers full of solutions, and he would get them all in quick time. So it was great to see the progress. And I would also like to say that whenever I do a workshop, I like to start with a questionnaire to see where the students at, whether they want to go into the future as a professional or continue to university,
Yes.
or do they just see themselves doing a few years and straight into work. And then I compare that with another questionnaire I do at the end of the workshop to see if that's changed. And I would like to say that usually around 16% at first have said that they would like to continue into university. However, it jumped to around approximately 62%. So that's a massive, massive, massive progress. And it's very rewarding to have such numbers show up when you work with students.
Yes. Ms. Salem, yesterday President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a meeting with, attended by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and a number of ministers, among them the Minister of Social Solidarity, and they reviewed the state's efforts in developing social care institutions within the framework of the national strategy for alternative care for children and youth across Egypt, and the President El-Sisi also reviewed the latest developments concerning the initiative of the Decent Life. How do you see the role played by the President and the state in concerning this initiative?
Well, I do have to say it makes me a very proud Egyptian, knowing that such initiatives exist and that he's focusing on communities that really do need the most development and do need an increase in their standard of living.
Yes.
As I mentioned earlier, there is a huge disparity in this country between those that are fortunate enough to have a decent living and those who do not. And I hope to see that this disparity decreases. And I'm aware that the administration is working towards not just education, but healthcare, ensuring that there is clean running water in these rural areas, electricity as well, to ensure no power cuts. Not only that, but transportation to ensure that they can get from A to B in a safe manner. And healthcare is a top priority as well in this initiative. So I'm aware that it's around 300 rural areas that they're targeting, and that's incredible to hear. And you can already see across Cairo, for example, the tremendous work that they're doing with regards to roads and bridges and railways. So it's fantastic to see this, and I honestly hope that it continues and the results show the hard work, because it is definitely hard work, especially changing mindsets of a large population that are so used to the norms of their lifestyle. Seeing that change to the better, it's something that I'm so proud to see.
Yes.
And
yes. Yes, also the President gave his directives in order to take care also of the nurseries in all governorates, in order that the nurseries in the villages and the governorates would cope with the level of the nurseries in the capital, for example. How do you see this?
I think it's fantastic. Yes, there is a large, it's no lie that we have a large population here in Egypt, with limited number of resources for children. I do remember I volunteered once in a children's hospital here in Egypt, and we raised money to buy an incubator.
Yes.
It was very sad to see that there wasn't enough incubators for the babies, and that there was a waiting list. So to hear that there is focus on nurseries here in Egypt, it's fantastic, especially in the rural areas where they need it the most, especially if the parents do need to work. Where will they leave their child? So that it is a fantastic initiative overall.
Yes. Could you give us an idea about President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's keenness also to increase the public spending on health and education, also included in the Decent Life initiative? The connection between the importance of education and health in this initiative.
Well, I'm aware that there is a large amount of investment going towards the initiative, especially the educational side.
Yes.
I am aware also that many communities are bringing children from around the community into cultural hubs to expose them to music, to culture, to art that they're not usually exposed to. And this is something that's happening constantly. And that again requires a large sum of money to get them to interact with the culture, with the art, with the music. Not only that, the investment there will be a return in investment. I do see that happening, because you invest in a child and then the child will grow up to do some amazing and great things.
That's true.
Yes, so he is tapping into potential that is untapped. So by tapping into that potential, he is opening doorways for these children that they can reach new heights that has never been reached before. So yes, his investment in them, it's very admiring.
Yes.
And he's doing a fantastic job across across different initiatives as well, not just the Decent Life Living initiative, but many other initiatives.
Yes.
So yes, like I mentioned earlier, it makes me very proud to be an Egyptian at the moment.
I had the pleasure to have you with us today. Really, thank you for volunteering in this very great project or initiative by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the Decent Life, and for your efforts concerning the children and the experience that you have taken abroad. I thank you very much for coming today. I had the pleasure to host you, Ms. Maha Salem, student progression mentor. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
you. Take care.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you now with my colleague Shireen Adel.